Okay, so this is a little different podcast. Not because we're changing the way we do our podcast, because we have more information than we can get out in a week. And so we wanted to bring you guys some, hopefully answer a whole bunch of questions. That's what
bonus episode.
Yeah. So what's going on is we have experienced a tremendous number of people not asking about our scents. It seems like, especially you podcast listeners, probably already know a lot about our scents and what we have and things like that. But either you can't remember from one year to the next, which that's the boat I fall into all the time, or you've never used it before, or you want to try something different. But basically, people are sending tons of messages saying, what do I do? How do I use this?
They are asking about scents. I don't know why you said they're not asking about scents. Everybody, including some of you guys, are asking us what scents to use, what you used last year that you had a good idea of, you got something, what you should be using this time of year because you've never made mock scrapes this early, or what our recommendations are for our scents. Much more instead of what it used to be of what are your scents. Now it is what scent should I be using. So we are going to try to help you with that.
Yep. So today's podcast is all about the scents. I mean, I would say even more so. We'll talk about some making mock scrapes or putting in your own rub trees and things like that. But this is truly, and maybe this is...
And learning about deer, too.
Yeah, this is episode 1 of this, because I got a feeling we'll end up doing another one of these in a month or another one the next month as the progression changes in what we see or what we're... And again, guys, I'll go back to, we keep saying this over and over. We're not telling you that this is the only way that you can hunt or this is the only thing that works. What we're telling you is, what I'll say is, let the videos speak for themselves. That's what, because... What I'm doing is I'm trying to bring you guys the information that I'm seeing the deer doing what they're doing. And you determine whether it's something you want to try or not. So with that, the first thing maybe that we should do is we should introduce the bundles, the packages. We had some packages last year and the year before, but this year we've put together a lot more stuff to try to make it more cost effective for everyone.
Yeah, we've done that strategically because we always recommend when you're using our scents, the best thing that I've used lately is to help you understand. You could buy a high country truck, so your highest trim package, or you could buy your work model truck that gives you just basically she drives and she gets her done. We're always recommending with our scents you should be using at least 2 different ones because they're all a different extract from a different gland or a mixture of other glands or from a buck or a doe or from time of year. And so we've tried to make these are all strategic bundles based on price so that you guys have a variety of different prices to pick from, and they're all cost effective as well as time of year you'd want to be using them. Or for instance, the Elite package will give you something for everything where you could be using it year round. You have something, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And so just going through our line very quickly because we don't want to spend that much time on it, but we're trying to more so educate or help you guys answer some questions of what we're using right now, why we're using it. But as far as our packages go, we have 6, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5. Then the 6th one is you can make your own bundle on our website. And so the first one is the Elite package. It's 9 different products. You have 7 scents. It's our Scrape King spray, Scrape King paste, which is a buck preorbital. You have your Buck Junkie spray, your Buck Junkie oil, which is forehead and salivary. And then you have your Scrape Queen, which is a doe preorbital, Scrape Addict, that is 5 different glands from bucks and does. Then you have your LHD, that is multiple glands, including sex glands and extracts from a doe and heat. And then on top of that, you get a hemp rope and a scrape rake for free, which our scrape rake is all new this year. It's something that we worked on and designed for our rub posts that we'll get into, and so you can use them for scrapes.
I don't know if Nick can flip-flop that. I think that needs to be last. I think that we should go through the others and why we put those bundles together and describe that for people so that someone could.
I'm just doing a quick overview. We're going to go.
I know, but I don't know that we need to do a quick overview as far as talk about this one, talk about this one, talk about that one. Then the one you just described. What?
I just followed your instruction 5 minutes ago, and now you're changing it, but it's okay. So this is going to be a typical podcast where we bicker back and forth, father and son. Wonderful. You guys will probably like that a lot.
Well, just know that I'm right.
If we're doing it that way, then screw the bundles. Okay, we have bundles that are on the website. We'll probably go over the vast majority of them in this podcast here. But what are we using right now? What are you using right now?
Right now, I'm using what we call the Queen Pin package, which is basically Scrape Queen and 2 Scrape Addicts.
Yep, and if you put a hidden camera on David, you'll also see that he's using Scrape King.
Everywhere.
Anytime, anywhere, vast amounts, excruciatingly painful amounts of Scrape King, which we tell you guys not to do. But David is one of the creators and doesn't like to listen to our own instruction, but that's okay because it works. So
let me open my computer and show you my videos.
The Queen Pin bundle is basically one that we put together that is not dominant. That's what I've been realizing that a lot of people are really looking for is it a really dominant? Is it during the rut, not during the rut? This is all new. The glandular stuff is still new because people are realizing that you can be making scrapes now. It's becoming much, much more popular every year. So the Queen Pin bundle is our Scrape Addict, 2 bottles of it, and our Scrape Queen. We did that strategically. Scrape Addict is bucks and does alike, 5 different glands. You have the tarsal, the interdigital, the preorbital, the forehead, and the salivary glands, all mixed together from bucks and does. And then the Scrape Queen is just a doe preorbital, not in heat, and that is intentional. The reason we're using that right now is because Dad's going to have a theory on this too and how he likes to use them. I have very strategic ways I use the scents. I like to start my scrapes right now with, I'm trying to make a scrape smell like the absolute most amount of deer in that area has already been coming to it and using it. They're followers. They like to do what other deer are doing.
That's the Scrape Addict.
Yep, and so using the Scrape Addict, I'm putting multiple different deer, multiple different glands. It is portraying that it is a scrape that has been used for a very long time from a lot of other deer, conveniently a lot of new deer. And so a lot of deer in that area all know each other, whether we believe it or whether we understand it fully. They know each other based on glands. And so when we go introduce, that's partly why any of the scents work so well, is because we're introducing new deer every single time. And so the Scrape Addict is as many deer as you could possibly get, really, in different glands, all in one bottle. And then I'm using the Scrape Queen because the Scrape Queen is simply a doe preorbital, not in heat, like I said, and it's adding a specific scent onto the licking branch. And that's giving me a doe has specifically come in there and made a scrape. And now it's not so overwhelming with how much scent it is. It is a doe has probably recently been there is what they're probably portraying it as. And so it's a very good combination. In the Scrape Addict, we give you 2 bottles. Number 1, because you're going to use a lot of it, because you're going to use that now and you're going to continue to use that. It's very easy to use as refreshing scrapes. You see one on your way into the stand, you're going to use that to freshen it up. Maybe you want to start a brand new one literally 10 minutes before you're about to set up. And so you're going to use lots of your Scrape Addict. And then your Scrape Queen, you're not going to use as much because, as we'll get into it, I have different strategies how I'm picking and pulling different ones and swapping them out.
So part of the reason, not on top of the fact that everyone wrote in asking all the questions about what scent should they be using, the reason that I suggested that we do this podcast specifically now and get this out right now is because I have 2 videos that I just pulled off trail cameras where I have a buck on May 6th, walk up and hits a licking branch. And he's got little tiny horns starting to grow. He's still in velvet. He is not like freaking out on, this is not a buck. Like, we're not trying to tell you that, but they're going into the rut. That's not it at all. But this deer has come back to a scrape that we had in the past there. There's no scrape even there right now. It's kind of grown in and there's something there. But these deer, it was after a rain. And so the scent was probably strong. Deer walks by. He's like, let me go see who's over there. And he reaches up there and he just licks on him. Well, if you have a trail camera on photo and you got that, you would think he's just eating the overhanging limb or the leaves. But if you have it on video, you actually see that they'll put it in their mouth and they're not eating it at all. They're actually just licking. They just leave their saliva on there. So he's leaving his scent on there. And then on the 14th of May, I have one that actually, this one shocked me because I've seen this a lot, but I was like, holy crap, this deer is actually coming in, not because he was touching our rub tree, but I left the rub tree there over Usually I'll go in and pull them out or they break them and I don't have anything there. But this one's still there and it's old, and meaning it was from last year. And this deer comes in and he sniffs the thing first of all, which is putting his nasal, and they lick it a lot of times. And then again, they're putting their salivary scent on that, but using glandular scents to put their scent on that tree. But then he starts rubbing his eye. I mean, specifically rubbing his preorbital gland on that tree. And again, we're talking about May. Does it really matter too much as far as what's going on? Maybe not, but what it does matter is I start to get my inventory now. I mean, if that deer was something that was telling me he's got a drop tine or he's got a split G2 or that I can already see, and then I don't see that deer later on, I know that deer still exists.
I think the interesting part about that is not, number one, we're not telling you to go put in a rub post right now.
No, not at all.
You could. I don't think it's not going to do you really any good. And I wouldn't expect to be getting lots of deer doing that. But the point is that the deer are active all year round.
Yep.
If you find that, I even have scrapes where I'll find them in January and February where there's a foot of snow on the ground and the scrape is open and I haven't done anything with it because they are always in communication. It's just a matter of how much they're in communication. And so that is interesting simply with the fact that it just shows that the deer may not be wanting to make a rub specifically, but he knows that that's an area where they have in the past where they've communicated from last year or there's still scent on it from last year that he is coming to, he smells it and wants to leave his scent on it too. Whether he's using it like a rub post like they normally would or not, he's using it for communicating. The other fun one, though, that you said there is that I just got done with a show in northern Iowa, and some of the guys that were up there were talking about the whole thing of when they piss in their scrape and everything, and I hear it all so much. I just pissed in my scrape, and I got the deer coming there or whatever. I'm sorry to inform you, but it is interesting. You can do the same exact thing, and this is the best example. You could go piss in a scrape, or you could go, and this is existing scrapes. This is ones that like they found a deer using or whatever, and go dump water on it. And I had heard the theory this weekend. I had to laugh a little bit because the guy was telling me that he pissed in his scrape, and the reason they came to it is because there's all these pheromones and hormones and everything in his pee, and the bucks don't like it, and they want to come. They want to come make sure that their smell's there. Well, statistically speaking, and as a chemist, or if you read from chemists, urine immediately, when it is exposed to oxygen, is turning into ammonia, which when it's turning into ammonia, does not carry any hormones, does not carry any pheromones or anything. It turns into straight up ammonia, which means the entire wood smells like ammonia because everything is pissing out there. But the fun thing is, go dump water on it and the same scrape, or a different scrape if you'd like, and you'll see the same exact result. It has nothing to do with your piss. It has nothing to do with your hormones or pheromones, whatever else. It has everything to do with moisture. And what Dad just said right there is conveniently right after a rain that he sees this happen is because there is moisture being put in the ground. When there's moisture in the ground, it's pulling any scent thrives in moisture. And so when it's very dry, you won't have as much reaction on your scrapes. So if you do have scrapes that are working well, and then it gets really dry for a month or whatever, go dump some water on it. That's what and here in Iowa, when we get our July and August, when we haven't had a rain for a month or two, we got 90-degree weather, the one thing I have with me outside of my scents when I'm checking my scrapes is a gallon of water, because I'm dumping at least a gallon of water on just about every scrape that I'm setting or refreshing, because that gets the moisture back into the moisture content into the dirt and brings the scent back up. And so that's always a fun one to hear. That was one of the more interesting theories. He was very confident in that one.
There's an article out there I read that they did all kinds of stuff. They poured like the scent wafers or whatever, the liquid that they make, that they poured that in a scrape. They pissed in a scrape. They put doe urine, and they said that everything came back pretty much the same. There wasn't anything that really stood out. That was before glandular scents. I would love to see someone do that same thing with glandular scents.
Well, the thing is, you'll see them come to it. That nobody's arguing that they'll come to it.
Absolutely.
One time or recent while it's still got that moisture in it. But then give it a couple days. When it dries out again, you probably aren't going to have much coming back to it again to check it out because there's no scent there anymore.
Well, I was the biggest skeptic, if not the biggest skeptic. I was way up there when it came to deer scents. I tried all that stuff. I mean, for years, I had the doe urines and stuff like that. And the only way I could get a result from that stuff was a lot of it. I had to use a whole bunch.
Yep.
And so I finally was like, there's just no point. I just don't want it not exist. So anyhow, what we were going to talk about, or I'll go back to the queen pin. Even though the queen pin was designed for this time of year, and I guess I want to make sure that everyone understands, when you call us and you ask us, or you write us and you ask us, what scent should I be using at this time of year? You're going to get an answer from Easton, you're going to get an answer from me, and they may not be exact. You're going to get an answer from the dude that lives down the street that's using the same stuff. His won't be exact. It is no different than using a diaphragm call. When I tell people I can take the exact same diaphragm call, give it to 3 people, and they all will sound somewhat different with that turkey call. It won't come out the same. Your airflow's not the same. Your mouth's different. Your teeth are different. Your tongue sits on it different. Everything about it is a little bit different. Our scents are the same way. You can mix and match these scents to get what you find works in your area or at your time of the year. And so the queen pin we designed for early season. Like Easton was saying earlier, there's no threat, there's no aggression in there. It's just simply a bunch of deer. And then we're kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Making it a little more profound on the doe part of it. That would be it. However, just like what I just explained a second ago, the video that I have that showed this buck walk up and uses preorbital gland on one of our rub trees, that's why I'm using Scrape King, because the doe, the Scrape Queen, is the preorbital from the doe. And I agree I still think that is the number one gland. That, in my opinion, that's the one that they use the most. And so I love it. And whether it's the doe or the buck, but I tend to use the buck one more. So what I do is I've got the queen pin, but then I add a little bit of Scrape King. That's just me. That's the way I'm going to do it. So sorry for those of you guys that go out there and buy the bundle, because we don't sell that one as a bundle. The Scrape King is in something else. So,
well, the only ones that I do try to tell people, if you, number one, don't use LHD right now. I've never gone out there and put it out there in the summer and seen a bad reaction, but you're wasting product for no reason. But the other one that if you're going to use it, and I'm telling you because a lot of you won't listen, but the buck junkie oil is excessively potent. It is the most stout version of what we can get directly from a deer. If you're going to use the buck junkie oil, and this is also strategically taken when they're in the rut, and so the buck's foreheads are ready to roll. They are cranking away when we are pulling these, and so the buck junkie oil itself, if you use it right now, because he's another one that you'll find using it during the summers, use small amounts of it though. Don't go freaking dumping a crap load of buck junkie oil on it. That one, I do believe, I've seen it where if I use a ton of it, it is not a good representation of what a scrape would be like right now, and they have no interest in coming to it because it's like they're thinking, what the truck is this, why is this buck so fired up? I do
not put the buck junkie oil. I never drop that in a scrape. Yeah, I don't. I'm not saying it won't work, but I don't. I try not to get it in I don't put it on the ground. It's specifically for a limb or for primarily what it's for, because when you're talking about like using sparingly amount, is I take a knife and I work it into the tree.
Yeah, but that's later in the year. That's when we're putting rub posts in. I'm talking like we're in June right now, and if you are going to use it, use small amounts of it, because I know people probably will. But primarily, if you're really wanting to use buck junkie right now, the new spray that we came out with is the one to be using if you're going to use one of the buck junkies right now. But as far as to answer everybody's questions as to what we are using right now, I'm just using the queen pin bundle, and sometimes I'll put some Scrape King on it if I've got it sitting there with me or whatever. But why are you starting them right now, or what is the benefit of that?
Two reasons. One is I can't stand it. I got to be doing something that has to do with deer. I start as soon as they start growing, and I can't say as soon as they start growing, because I don't have anything on anything like in April, May, that kind of thing. But as soon as they start, like we're seeing most of our deer have their brow tines, maybe even have G2s and G3s. We've even seen a buck that's got a G4. I can start to identify some of my deer. And so what I'm utilizing it for is to get pictures of deer and start to utilize not necessarily what they're doing or making them do something that they're going to that's going to be trip them up in the fall. What it's going to do is tell me where they spend their summer. And so then plugging that into maybe an onX and everything, and I start to build that roadmap of where was he, what was he doing at this time of year, where did he go, okay, and sometimes it takes 2-3 years to put that all together, and then all of a sudden the light bulb goes off and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is what he's doing. So one is recognition, and two is developing history with that deer, understanding what they're doing. That's the main two reasons that I've got any kind of scent out right now.
Yeah, and that right there is another example of if depending on who you're talking to, you're going to get different answers, and there's not really a wrong answer of how you're using it. For me, I'm much more of looking to fall. Now, inventory-wise, that is, I will agree. You agree on, like, if you're setting your scrapes right now, that should be potentially your number one or forefront of what you're trying to do, trying to see what deer are in your area or what deer are there. But I've started making my scrapes where I'm going to hunt, mainly because if I can start them early enough, the longer the better that they've been used. And so the more deer that are using it, the more deer that are coming to it, the more deer that smells like have been to it, the better I am in the fall because of when they start to shed their velvet. And so when they start to shed their velvet, a lot of us know that when they shed their velvet, they're on to the next place. Some of them will stay. Some of them will leave. Whether you have ones that are staying or leaving, a lot of times you have new ones coming in. And so if I can make a scrape that is so powerful from all the deer in that area that's being used, now the deer that comes rotating in or whatever when they shed their velvet that is new to the area, he's not going to start a new scrape. He may start something somewhere or make a scrape somewhere, but he now isn't questioning where that community scrape is or where those deer are communicating or finding the other deer. I gave it to him, and strategically, if it works properly, I gave it to him in 20 yards in front of a tree stand. And so mine is inventory, and I'm looking, I don't just put them random places. Obviously you need to put them where you have deer coming through or around or nearby. This isn't going to draw them from 7 miles away. If you don't have deer, you're not going to have deer. So that you have to have deer in the area. But I'm doing it strategically to enhance the chances of them coming to that same spot, so I don't have to start another one in the fall where they're coming to it frequently.
And I would say mine is a combination of that. I would say that there are times when, like the scrape that I set today, because I did one today, in a spot where I've known that it's a community scrape that I started years ago, and then now it's just year after year. But at the same time, if I have a new place and I don't know anything about it, I won't hesitate to put a scrape somewhere and then get some pictures, start to get an idea of what's going on. And if it's not in the place where I want to have my stand or something, I have plenty of time, demolish that. Move it somewhere else. Because the other thing that I will do, and this is for later podcasts, is I'll get rid of their scrapes and force them to mine. I mean,
when you have the situations where you've got to stand somewhere and you've got six scrapes or something that you haven't started all of them or whatever, or hopefully you haven't started 6
will you
of
go
them.
grab us a fly swatter unless there's
right
one
here.
He's got it. We got to kill some of these suckers.
If you're starting or you're in a spot where there's 5 or 6 different scrapes, did you get that?
Yes.
That was pretty impressive. You're now guessing where you're going to put your stand, especially if you have, when you look at a field edge, a lot of times you have 5 or 6 different scrapes, if not more. Those could be 100 yards apart, and depending on which one, a lot of times if they're all not that established, it's random as hell which ones are doing which and which ones are going where. And so there for a while I was skeptical of doing it, and I tried it, and I would tell people, I'm going to do it. I wouldn't necessarily say you should do it. At this point though, now I don't see any deficit. It's only a benefit that I will tear those ones down and even try to scrape some of the dirt out of it and everything, and start one or use one of the ones that I know that they're liking to create one that they are all coming to. And now I'm not questioning one of 5 or one of 6. I'm guessing one of one, or maybe one other that's right there. So that is a very good tip.
I think there's a progression too that we went through. I don't know if you did. I know I did. And that was prior to finding Glandular Sense, I was messing around with scrapes. Not that I would just find an existing scrape, put a camera on it, okay. And they were usually, at this time of year, I really wasn't that focused on them at all, thinking that they're not even messing with these, other than I know it's there because I saw it last year or whatever. So what I leaned on then was food. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm dumping corn, or I'm throwing, my big one was blocks. I carry a block in somewhere and put it there. Or spray stuff that you spray on any kind of vegetation, and they eat all that vegetation because it's got something in there that smells like corn or cherry or whatever. And so that was, and then when I started working with glands and started this stuff, I went to like a 50-50, I think, where I was like, I'm going to still have food over here because there's not really a place to have a scrape or whatever, until eventually I was like, I'm getting better results on my scrapes, not because I wasn't getting as many pictures.
You get less pictures.
You get less pictures for sure.
Yep.
But you get the right pictures.
Yeah, you don't have to go sorting through freaking coon after squirrel after bird after everything else.
Yeah. So if you're that dude, and I was that dude, that's how come I can say this. If you're calling your buddy, hey man, wait till you see the freaking bird I have flying today. It's cool as hell. Or look at this. There's a whole flock of them.
That's a cool picture.
Yeah, that's a cool picture. Then maybe you need to change what you're doing to get the right things in front of your camera. Because if you're proud, now don't get me wrong, someone captures something like the bobcat that jumped 6 feet in the air and caught the turkey. That was pretty unbelievable. But if the cool thing is, look, there's 7 coons, because I've had that. I've had them climb up on my feeder and get in there and start scooping stuff out. I've had coyotes chasing this or all kinds of stuff. But you just sort through all those pictures trying to get to, there's the one I'm looking for. Well, what if you could eliminate all that, maybe not completely, but to a degree, and say, I'm just going to focus not only on just deer, but more bucks.
It saved not just time, money.
A lot of money.
Oh my gosh, I was paying a lot of money for corn throughout a summer, and especially hiking it in, because I was... Dad has worked hard enough to the point in his life where he's been able to buy land and stuff. For a long time there, me and old Joey. Oh, and I swear to you, if he listens to this one, his freaking song that he would sing, we'd throw freaking 1 or 2 bags of corn on our back, and both of us, and we'd go hiking like a mile. Not because I was trying to be in shape, because that's where the deer were, and I was not allowed, or I had permission, so I wasn't taking a 4-wheeler or anything.
What's the song he sings? Jimmy Crack Corn, I don't care.
Yeah. It is traumatizing. Yes, I freaking hate it so much. But the amount of money that I have saved in not having to buy, I was doing that like every 3 weeks at most, and it keeps me out of there more.
Well, I filled a grain cart, remember?
Yeah, I know you did.
And then I would fill the grain cart with corn, and then had a place where I can dump it into trash cans and take it, and then take that out and fill the feeders.
Yeah. As far as cost-wise, it's way better.
Absolutely.
The only other one that I do still use outside of just scrapes is I don't want them on a trail camera on the edge of a field, just for on the edge of a field. But if I've got like one of the places where I've been getting quite a few deer right now is they're coming through a specific spot that I've just kept that. I wasn't planning on keeping that camera there, but the field ended up growing that I was totally doing joking around doing a video, and that grew really well. And now there's tons of deer in it. So that's about the only, besides like a trail here and there, pretty much everything. It's probably 90% of this time of year, my cameras are on a scrape that I've made. And that's the other one that a lot of people are, I don't think they question as much. The whole mock scrape thing, for a long time there was questioned whether or not it was legit or you could do it. A lot of people would argue you had to find one that they were using already. It's probably I know it is. In the past 2 years now, at a minimum, it has been 100% a scrape I've built. None of them have been refreshing a scrape. I'm not against that, but 9 times out of 10, wherever they've started a scrape is not where I have the optimal wind or access or whatever else to get to a good stand location.
But I think part of that is because we are hunting farms that we've hunted before.
Yeah, we know the deer.
We know the deer. We know the travel patterns and that kind of stuff. And we've established those scrapes, and then they've now been there. I mean, they're proven. It's sort of like that signpost rub. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you hunt this after I learned what a signpost rub was different than all the other rubs? I mean, they're giving you a sign says, "Here's where I'm going to be. I'm coming here."
Yeah. So to really sum up everybody's questions, what this time of year especially, if the do's and don'ts. The do's would be what scents we're using, and that is the Scrape Addict, Scrape Queen, Scrape King as well. And we're creating our own scrapes where we want them. And right now, maybe just an area where it's the deer are at right now. It may not be where they are coming in the fall. And then number 2 is obviously make sure that there's freaking deer in that area. Don't expect one of your places that's only good in the rut to have the deer there right now, or for you to be able to go put a scrape in there and they're all going to be there. You're setting yourself up for failure. And then I think the don'ts is one of the big ones that I hear a lot when I have somebody that reaches out, because I do a lot of our customer service stuff. So when you guys email there, it's probably me answering, is if they aren't having results, especially this time of year, vast majority of them, the first thing I ask is, do you have your scrape near a food or like a bait pile or wherever you're putting a food source where there's every deer in the country coming to that spot, or every other animal in that spot, and your scrape is 10 yards away from it or 20 yards away from it? Big no. I think it's I still haven't been able to figure out exactly why, but if you move that scrape 50, 60 yards away where it's not directly in contact with the bait and everything, or the food right there, your results will be 10 times better. And so, and I don't know if that's a distraction because from the food that they're going to, or there's so many deer or so many different scents that are there. But that is the number one probably that I get right now, that if I tell them to go move it, they'll answer me, come back and be like, oh, okay, well that worked much better. So don't put them, the don'ts would be, don't be putting them, number 1, where there's no deer. Number 2, where you have a food pile, if you do have one, don't put your scrape on top of it or right next to it. Good Lord. The distraction is unreal.
Sorry, but they're freaking everywhere. They are a distraction. I'm killing flies. I can't kill a deer, but I can kill flies.
So those are the goods and the bads of what you should be doing right now.
Well, I think what's going on, why guys are doing that when they do that scrape next to the food, because they're not sold. They're not 100% in. They're saying, I want every possibility for them to stand at my camera. I want food. I want them to come here to the scrape. If they had some way of getting the fences all to come to that point, they would do that too.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Oh, if I have everything here, then he should just be laying here. He shouldn't even go anywhere. Maybe I should put up some big tall bushes around there too, and then he can just chill out there. But anyhow, I agree with you that it definitely works against you.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll see a much better result if you move that away, even if it's only 50, 60 yards, something like that, where they don't have all the scent and all the other activity right around a food pile. Oh, boy.
Okay, so I don't think we're going to go over, we're not going to go over all of the different, other than do we mention all of them? What's
That's what I was trying to do in the beginning, and you said not to.
I don't, because I thought we were going to touch base on each one of them. So sorry that we did not do that. But I don't think that because the Queen Pin is the one that we're telling everyone that they need to be using right now, and Scrape King. Sorry.
If you do want to get the mix of the both, I mean, the hemp rope bundle is a really popular one right now too.
Right.
And that is Scrape King spray and Buck Junkie spray. So it's just bucks instead of having the dough mix in there. But that is a great one as well. But I guess you could. The hemp rope bundle is it's just Scrape King spray, Buck Junkie spray, and then a hemp rope as well. The hemp ropes, conveniently, if you haven't seen ours, number 1, they're 100% hemp. They're all natural, which is really hard to find. And we did that on purpose. And then secondly, we added they're really freaking cool. I want to sell them as individual products.
Right.
I don't know if it's all that beneficial, but
I think
we'll see.
They should be called the Badass Zip Tie.
They are. It's literally a scent-free silicone zip tie that is reusable, and we put a little loop on the hemp rope, so you can just attach that directly to a licking branch or any branch, something that you are making a scrape for. And then we also put some rope, paracord rope in there if you need to make it longer or whatever else you need to tie it to something, just basically giving you all the options. But that freaking zip tie is slick. because you do not have to tie any knots. You don't have to try to use any wire to wrap anything around. You literally put it around the branch, pull it tight, done.
That's it.
And it lasts.
And to take it off, you just do the same thing. You just undo it.
Yep. And I've not ever had one pull it off yet, so we'll see. But they're pretty sweet. And so then the other one is the Rub Tree Special, the Buck Junkie Oil, which we've talked about, Buck Junkie Spray, and then the new Scrape Rake, which is obviously for your scrapes if you want to use that, but also it's primarily designed because it's got extra teeth on it that are welded on there so that you can scar up a rub post later on in the year when you're going to be putting one of those in, or if you're using a regular existing tree. And then the last one is the David Select Scents. That is your boy's favorite optimal every scent that the whole way I came up with that package is because I didn't come up with it. I said, okay, Dad, everybody likes to listen to you, so what are the 3 scents if you couldn't live without? Which ones are you taking? And so the David Select is Scrape King Spray, Scrape King Paste, which lasts a little bit longer than the sprays, and then Buck Junkie Spray. And so that's a rundown of all of them. And then the Elite package that we talked about in the beginning has literally everything, and then some free product in there as well. So there's something in there, something in our bundles to cover just about everything, any time of the year. All of them you can add whatever you want to as well. And then if you, for his sake, he doesn't use, or he uses the queen pin, but he always likes to add other things. If you want to go make your own, you can there's a minimum of 3 products, but you put 3 in there and you can pick whichever ones you want to do. So
we got you covered.
Yes, sir.
But at the same time, I think we should talk about, there's 2 changes that I can think of. One, so there is a Buck Junkie Spray. Mm-hmm. So that I want to point that out, that there was not in the past. There was always been an oil form and a paste form. We got rid of the paste form because we really felt like the oil was doing what we needed it to do, and we wanted a spray. And so we brought in the spray, got rid of the paste. Then there is also you talked about the rake that we added, the rub and scrape rake, and then the hemp rope is new.
Yep.
And then, but one thing that you guys are going to notice, so we don't have the Buck Junkie paste, we don't have the Scrape Queen in a paste or Scrape Addict in a paste.
Yep.
And the reason that we did that was we felt like Scrape King was the one that everyone was utilizing the paste portion of it, and they weren't utilizing those other ones quite as much. So we just said, let's strictly go where it's all in a spray form, and we'll keep the Scrape King paste.
They're not as popular, and the paste is on a personal level is a freaking pain in the butt to make it. And it takes us like 10 times longer to make it.
But I can tell you this, we'll always make the Scrape King paste, because if not, you can always call me. I'll have some in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Because I'll have it stored so that
charge you double for it.
Because I like the ability to have the long term and the immediate.
Mm-hmm.
That's
for
it.
Sure.
So, all right. Well, that's kind of again, guys, this will probably create a whole bunch more questions, but that's okay. But I think the fact that we're now offering you build your own bundle, you solved everything. Again, you can't go wrong. Try something. Try some mix that we don't have, or that we're not. I mean, not that we don't have. That we don't have built into a bundle. Make your own bundle and see. And then if it works fantastically, or if it fails, talk to us. Let us know. I mean, that's a whole lot of this, guys, has come from trial and error, and there's a whole lot that has not worked for us. And then what we do is we look and see, okay, it didn't work once, or it didn't work. Now it didn't work twice. Now it didn't work for 2 different ones of us. Okay, what are we saying wrong here? And then we can't speak to the deer, so we have to kind of summarize what we think is going on. But it's worked pretty well, because there's stuff that we've got bundled there for you is because we have seen it work.
Yep.
I mean,
for sure.
we're talking about bucks coming to the trees. We're talking about bucks we've shot at these trees. We're talking about scrapes that we've had that were not there, that they're standing in them or around them or coming through them periodically. And so anyhow, I think we've covered it pretty well for this time of year.
Yep.
But like I said, stay in touch. We appreciate you guys. Anything else to add? Just remember, go to the Raised Hunting website. You can find all the scents are there. The canine line is there. The knocks are there. And there's all kinds of apparel. If you're out about this weekend, because we're going to try to get this podcast out right now, come visit us in Maxburg. We're going to be throwing skillets.
Yeah.
Even Nick is going to be.
Skillet toss. The National Skillet Toss.
National Skillet Throwing Competition. It's official. This will be our first year in it. We've been training for months. We, kind of started getting ready for this. We're kind of looking at this sort of like the Olympics. We talked to Michael Phelps and asked him how did he approach it, and we thought we might go with the same kind of approach. Maybe grow out our fingernails to get that little extra reach. Are you still using the correct supplements that we talked about? Yeah, and we've greased our hands so that it slides very well. You were talking about using a 1-pin sight. Is that how you're going to throw this thing 30 feet?
I've decided just to close one eye instead.
See, I got to go with 2 pins. I just don't have the throw that I used to have to. So I'm probably going to split pins, depending on if they move the distance. So it should be a lot of fun though, but we're not here for fun. We're here to win. So,
stay tuned. You guys will see some videos, I'm sure.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you guys. And this, again, was a special presentation of the Raised Hunting Podcast. See you guys next week.